Hi, welcome to Bipolar Boxing Picks. This is Nick. This Saturday night, we got Teofimo Lopez versus Josh Taylor for Josh Taylor's 140-pound WBO title. I believe it's the only one he's got left. But awesome fight, awesome fight. We got two of the top guys at 140. Teofimo Lopez, I think I have him at, I put him at number three. I mean, there's Prograis, Taylor, or Taylor, Prograis, and then Lopez probably. You got other guys like Gary Russell's got a chance to be up there. Jack Catterall would probably have to be ranked somewhere 3, 4, or 5. Sabrail Matisse is a real good fighter, but 140 ain't all that great. I mean, Jose Ramirez is probably still up there in the top 6 or 7. But, I mean, like 140 is not that great. Like, I think Teofimo Lopez made the right move here, moving to 140. Because I don't think he was beating any of those guys at 135. I wouldn't put him in the top 8 fighters at 135 if he moved down. But I'd put him in the top 3 fighters at 140. Even as bad as he looked at 140 so far. So this is a good move for Teofimo Lopez. But I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns in this fight. The odds for this fight is Josh Taylor minus 190, so it's right at like 2-1 favorite here. Right about where it should be. And like I said, just with the unknowns here, you're getting a lot of value. If you like either one of these guys, you're getting a lot of value on that bet. Because depending on who you like, I mean, they're I know it sounds weird, but like they're both undervalued, to be honest, in this fight. And because the bookies got to play it safe here. Like if this fight was a year or so ago, like if it was before the Catterall fight, Josh Taylor would be a 3 or 4-1 favorite at least. But that Catterall fight, I mean, and the other thing is like it's the last fight of his in your mind. So, you know, a lot of people like they're gonna look at that fight is still fresh in our minds. So you're gonna look at Josh Taylor and be like, all right, I have to assume that this is the Josh Taylor that's gonna show up, the guy that fought Jack Catterall. And now he's fighting a guy that I think most people would agree is better than Jack Catterall. I know Jack Catterall had an amazing performance, and let's all admit, like he beat Josh Taylor that night. But I don't think he's capable of doing that ever against another top 5 opponent. I just don't see it. But so you got to think that Teofimo Lopez is better than Jack Catterall. If Taylor performs like that, Lopez is gonna smoke him. He might get him out of there and knock him out, to be honest. But my thing here is like with fights that are about 2-1 favorite or under close to a pick'em or something like that, like just try to look for the safest pick possible. And the safer pick here is Josh Taylor. So let's just go with Taylor by decision here, guys. Like I'm not going to sit here and I'm not very confident on it just because you can't be too confident in either one of these guys. No matter who you like in this fight, I don't see how you can be very confident of Teofimo Lopez or Josh Taylor because, yeah, if the Josh Taylor that beat Jose Ramirez and Prograis, especially that Prograis fight, he looked amazing in. And man, if he shows up, he should be able to beat Teofimo Lopez pretty easily. But if it's the one that showed up against Catterall, which was his last fight, which was a year and like 4 months ago or something like that, like that's a long layoff. And that's another thing. Like, how is that going to affect him? Like, that's mostly looked at in boxing as a negative thing. It could turn into a positive. Taylor could be like, hey, man, I'm getting up there in age. It's not good for me to fight a lot. My body needed the rest, but hey, I'm ready to go. And another thing I like is, like, when you have a fight like Catterall and you get that gift decision, I think a lot of I don't somebody, you know, don't take my word for this or whatever, but this is just the way I feel is like when you have a performance like that, the next fight I think you overperform. And so I think like from a betting perspective, when you have a fight like that and you're a big favorite and you probably lost the decision, but you get it anyways, you're undervalued in the next fight. And then that's where I scoop you up and, you know, we win some money. So that's what I'm going to try and do here is just say, you know, Taylor's going to have a way better performance than that. But I think the bookies made this line thinking that that's a very high possibility that that's the Taylor we're going to get. And if that Taylor shows up, Teofimo Lopez should be able to beat him. But then with all the unknowns on the Teofimo Lopez side of same thing with him. What Teofimo Lopez are we going to get? We're going to get the one that showed up in his last 3 fights? Because if that one shows up, then Taylor should run over him easily. Even if the Taylor that fight Catterall shows up, he should be able to beat the Lopez that showed up against Sandor Martin. I mean, he's just he doesn't look good at 140, guys. He doesn't. I know he hasn't lost a fight there at 140, but these were 2 showcase fights that he had that he should have won pretty easily, and he didn't. So it's just I can't trust the guy. I can't trust the guy. If you're fighting guys who are not near the world level, and you're not looking good against them, and you're also like he's a finisher, Teofimo Lopez. Like let's be honest, like he should have knocked both of those guys out. I know Sandor Martin's a very tough style to knock out. To be honest, he's tough to look good against because he's a slick fighter, but his team knows that, and they knew they were trying to showcase him for those 2 fights, and they were saying like, "Hey, Teo, let's go out there and get 2 knockouts in these 2 fights." He got one in the first fight, but once again, the first 6 rounds of that fight, he didn't impress me. Nothing. Like if you put Josh Taylor against 2 of those guys, both those guys, he's knocking both of them out. And he's knocking both of them out easy. So like I said, just a lot of unknowns in this fight, and when you see stuff like that, just try to find the safest pick possible. The safest pick possible, I don't know why I didn't look at it, but the over in this fight would probably be the safest pick. There ain't going to be no knockouts here. I don't see a knockout happening here. But I do see a decision, I'm going to say for Taylor, like, 8 rounds to 4 or something like that. A pretty easy decision. It could be wider than that. But if it's any closer, I would be worried that, Lopez is doing something that, and he's, but my problem with Lopez is his output's just not there. And it's not going to be there against a guy like Taylor. I mean, he might have to stand toe-to-toe and fight with Josh Taylor because Teofimo Lopez loves fighting off of his front foot. He's not going to be able to do that against Taylor. I mean, if he does, Taylor will meet him right there. And Taylor's a naturally bigger guy than him, so I don't see why Taylor wouldn't win those exchanges. But hey, let's see what happens here. I mean, Taylor also has the pedigree of being a great boxer. So that's another thing I think is going to drive Teofimo Lopez crazy. I know people could just say like, oh, Lomachenko's a great boxer too, but I think Lomachenko he beat himself in that fight. And we'll just leave that at that because I don't hold that win as high as a lot of other people do for Lopez. I think Lomachenko beat himself more than Lopez beat him. So I don't hold that win as high as Josh Taylor's win against Regis Prograis. Josh Taylor looked amazing in that fight. So between the 2 best wins of theirs, I liked a lot more of what I saw in Josh Taylor and Josh Taylor's biggest win. And I also think that Regis Prograis is also a better fighter than Teofimo Lopez. So if Taylor beat him pretty good, like that's what I'm banking on. I'm banking on it's more towards the side of the Taylor that showed up against Jose Ramirez and Regis Prograis rather than the one that showed up against Catterall. So as long as that happens, I think it'll be a pretty easy night for Taylor. If that doesn't, he's in trouble. If the guy who fought up who shows up who fought Catterall, we could be in some trouble here. But hey, if that happens, it happens. And then Taylor will probably take a step back, go up to 147 and see what's up there. Get some big fights up there. But this is a big fight for him. And I like the fact that he doesn't like Teofimo Lopez. So like he's putting everything into this fight. So like that's what you're trying to do. You're just trying to look to get this to even playing grounds. And like that's what I don't like about picking these fights like with all the unknowns is like put everything on an even playing ground. I can name who I like pretty much as soon as the fight's announced. But this is one of those fights where as soon as the fight was announced, I wasn't thinking about who was going to win. I just kept thinking about all the unknowns. When the fight was announced, I was like, oh man, Taylor, how long has he been off for? And Lopez, oh man, he didn't look good in his last fight. He almost lost to Sandor Martin. But I didn't really like get a clean thought of who I thought was going to win. So like I said, let's just go with the safe thing here, guys. Just go with Taylor by unanimous decision. Like I said, we'll go 8-4, 8-4, and like 7-5 on the scorecards because we're in New York. They're going to find some round. And that's the thing. Like if Taylor's not very active, Teofimo Lopez can steal some of the more boring rounds. because he's a pretty accurate counterpuncher. But I don't see him winning a decision, not even in New York City. I think it'll be a pretty wide decision for Taylor, and he's going to put on a good performance, and he's going to announce that he's back at 140, and hopefully get a fight like him versus Gary Russell. I'd love to see, or Matisse, or the Regis Prograis rematch would probably be the biggest fight back at 140. But yeah, it's a good fight. It's a good night of fights. There's a lot of fights on Saturday, but this is definitely the one, a good anchor for the fights. And it's Boxing Hall of Fame weekend also, and I'll be at the Boxing Hall of Fame. I'll be at the fights on Friday night, and I don't know what I'm doing for the rest of the weekend. But you guys enjoy the fights this weekend, and let me know who you think's gonna win.